Hello, America. I want to talk to you a little bit about something that I've been harping on this week, and it is about choosing. Choosing life or death, the culture of life or death. Which do you want for your children and your grandchildren, for yourself? There is a very clear choice that is being had, and it really started a long time ago, just with political correctness and then the hatred of races, and then, you know, your child can choose to be a boy if she's a girl, and all of these lies. And we have so destroyed our ability to understand truth that I don't know how America fares if she doesn't wake up and turn around. And the choice to me is really clear. If somebody is out chanting death to the Jews, gas the Jews, or even gas the Palestinians, I'm not on that side. But in this case, we have protesters all over the world. We have a war that is being warmed up in the Middle East. The United States got involved last night with some F-16s and F-18s. That's only going to further things along. Iran wants blood, and our capitals all over the world, especially the Western world, are on fire with these Palestinian rallies. And they're not rallies. They're not. They're horror shows on what is happening. I want to show you something that happened in Cooper's Union. They had to put, or 4 Jews went into the library and locked themselves into the library. Now there they are. They're pounding on the windows. They were pounding on the doors to get in. I never thought I would see these things in America, and this is something that I have warned against. I mean, I have been under attack from the left for so long because I've been warning about the seeds that were planted back in the 30s were being planted again, and they always end in anti-Semitism. The Jews are the canary in the coal mine every time. Now they're afraid to go outside. This weekend, there's a big Palestinian rally in New York City. Where? Right outside of Crown Heights. That's where 20,000 Jews live, a mile from where they're going to be. And in 1991, there was Jewish stores that are burned. There was a Jewish man that was killed, had his skull cracked by the mobs. And where are the police going to be? They're saying Jews should stay off the street. Hide like Anne Frank, you mean? Not in America. Not in America. That video where I'm watching them stand in the library and you're hearing them try to break down the door. Imagine that's you. I have been saying for a while now that we are not fighting flesh and bone. We are fighting evil. We are fighting evil. And it feels as though some new level of evil has opened up. There's things here that our eyes may be missing. And I want to talk to somebody who sees things similarly, but from another country, Canada, which is on fire as well. We'll talk to him in just a second. First, let me tell you about Rough Greens. If you've had a dog for a while now, you know that most dogs, eat food, dead food. If you put your kibble food on the shelf and it's there for 2 years, when you open it up, is it going to be moldy? No, not moldy at all. Nothing. It won't change because it's all dead. There's nothing in that, and they spray the flavor on. Isn't that great? Well, there is a product out. It is Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com, and you can order yours today at ruffgreens.com. They're going to send you a first trial bag for free just to make sure your dog loves it. I will tell you, Uno was a picky eater. He's not a picky eater anymore, and he changed. His whole level of activity and everything changed when he started eating rough greens. And I hear that from people all over the country that are trying it. Please try it. You just pay for shipping for the first trial bag at roughgreens.com. That's roughgreens.com/Beck. roughgreens.com/Beck or 833-GLEN-33. All right. Ezra Levant, he is the Rebel News founder, host of the Ezra Levant Show. And he has, with his news organization, been covering the Palestinian protest up in Canada. Ezra, I think you feel the same way that I do, that we're in a whole different level now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are different ways to approach a political solution in Israel. Let's put that aside. I'm not here to talk about this or that plan. I want to talk about the massacre, the rape, the torture, the dehumanization on October 7th. And then that is what sparked these celebration rallies across the West. So there was no Israeli attack on Gaza yet. There was no debate over a political solution. It was the raw joy, the exhilaration that hundreds of thousands of people across the West felt at seeing this Nazi-style depravity. That's what shook me to my core. I mean, good people can disagree about what the particular map should look like if there's a two-state solution and what's the deal. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. When people cheered the rape and the beheading and the burning alive of children, cheered the kidnapping, when people take down the pictures of the kidnapped hostages, take them down and say they deserved it, that is a level of depravity that I have never seen before, and I did not know was within the bosom of the West. And there were 100,000 people in London, England, who marched to that effect, and thousands across Canada, and even in, as you mentioned, one of the most Jewish cities in America, New York. They're going to Brooklyn, and what do they call that rally? Flood Brooklyn. Flood. That was the name of the terrorist project on October 7th. It was called the Al-Aqsa Flood. That's what Hamas called their attack. And when they chant Intifada, that means pogrom. And I just want to believe that in America and Canada, UK and Australia, if they were holding Nazi flags and chanting in German, I would hope that people would say this is wrong. They're holding other flags and chanting in English or Arabic, but they're saying the same things, Glenn, and it's just okay? It's terrifying to me.
I want to play something that your cameras caught. I think it was just outside of Toronto. Here's a woman at a Palestinian rally.
Hamas is not a terrorist group.
Oh, it isn't, ma'am.
First of all, Hamas is not a terrorist group. Hamas is not a terrorist group.
What is it, like a motorcycle club?
It is a resistance that has been fuming for 75 years of colonialism, of occupation, of murder, of rape, of little children, of women. That's what they are. They are a resistance.
Do you think Canada is a colonialist country too?
Everything that they do is justified.
Including what happened last week?
Every single thing they have done is justified.
Ma'am, there were children murdered, there were babies beheaded.
Babies beheaded, really? Please educate yourself. Please check the news, because as a news reporter, you gotta check the fucking news, because they said that is fake, okay? Multiple times. Different channels, even Biden himself, his ministers and his idiots said himself that news was fake. So, there's no 40 beheaded babies.
And there were no 1,300 deaths in Israel?
There's no evidence, there's no photos whatsoever. Hamas is a Muslim group. They would never do that because it's against Islam. That's number one. And that's something that they show.
Do you really believe that?
There is evidence of Israeli women saying that they gave us water, they gave us food, they gave us a place to sleep comfortably. They gave us clothes. They got them to cover up out of respect. This is actual women having interviews talking about when they were hostages or when they were taking in, when Hamas members were coming into their house. These are actual Israeli women saying this is how they were.
Wow. I don't know where she gets her news. Can we just concentrate on the babies here for a second? The best I can find to help back her up is there are reports that they don't know if the babies were actually beheaded or something happened that, I don't mean to be crass, but blew their heads off.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes a difference.
I don't know if you noticed, Glenn, she was wearing AK-47 earrings there. I don't know if you noticed that fashion approach. I don't know if you caught what she said. She said, Hamas is Islamic. They would never do these horrible things. But if they did, they were justified.
Yes, right.
And by the way, this young woman has been identified, and on her Instagram page, she was laughing and mocking the hostages, saying that the good Hamas boys will take care of them. There's a cruelty there that is so deep, it's beyond political stripe. I mean, Germany and France fought each other in World War I and World War II, and how do we stop Germany and France from fighting each other? How different are Germany and France in their deep moral code? How are they really that different? They're both Christian European countries. You know, maybe they have disagreements, but is there a visceral, I must torture, rape, kill infants, hold hostages? Like, the chasm between that young woman and, forget about me or you, just any ordinary Canadian, that's what scares me. This is not something that I feel can be negotiated or finessed. Is there any reconciliation with thousands of people in the West who think that murder, torture, rape is acceptable or even laudable, and then they chant they want to do it here? When they chant from the river to the sea, they're saying exterminate every Jew in the current borders of Israel. That's what the river and the sea are, the borders of Israel, the Jordan River and the Mediterranean. When they say intifada revolution, which they're chanting around Canada, that means a pogrom. That's just the Arabic word for pogrom. And you know, there's flags being flown around Canada, Taliban flags, Islamic Jihad flags. Who has those just kicking around their closet waiting to be used? And I fear that we have brought in hundreds of thousands of people who not only don't share our values but want to overturn them. But it would be remiss of me not to mention that there are plenty of old stock Canadian and American kids often who go to school, who study wokeness, and there are plenty of white Christian, so to speak, I mean, I wouldn't say they're particularly Christian, but plenty of born in Canada, born in US, born in UK students, white students, to put it another way, who go to school, study critical theory and cultural Marxism, and say, yeah, this revolution is what you do to an oppressor. And those might have been babies, but Israel's an oppressor state, so it's okay to do anything, resistance by any means. And so on campus, you've got this alliance between Islamists and local progressives, but it's a kind of death cult, Glenn. Oh,
it is. It is. And I've been reminded of what the brown shirts were like in Germany. Beat you in the street if you disagree with them, or you wouldn't give the salute. That's what's happening on the streets all over the world. I don't know how the West survives this, since we have all opened our borders and we've all turned a blind eye to what it really means. But I've had 3 guests on today's show, and whenever you would say ever, anytime. I've done this for 50 years. Hey, what about the end times? Nobody sane wants to talk about the end times. I've had 3 guests on today's show. The last one was today on radio. He was a congressman, and he was talking about this looks an awful lot like the end times. I don't know if it's the end times or not, but it certainly is evil. And it seems, and I know you've talked about this week, that there seems to be something much deeper than what everybody is talking about.
I think so, and I think it was covered up and papered over. I mean, remember after the fall of the Berlin Wall, Francis Fukuyama said it's the end of history. We'll all just be consumers now. We'll all just go to McDonald's and Disneyfy everything, and we'll all get along forever. Well, other people had a different point of view. Osama bin Laden had a different point of view. Now we can see Putin and Xi Jinping have a different point of view. I think we paper over these differences through hope, and we think technological progress and prosperity is all people care about, and if we just raise their quality of life. But no, I think there are deeper things within certain cultures that maybe cannot be finessed. And I want to say some of the most liberty-loving people in the West are refugees from Islamic extremism. But I can't also help but notice that so many people who were welcomed into the West from these lands have brought with them ancient and terrible hatreds that don't seem to be forgotten. And you know what? If it's just a 7-hour plane ride from Arabia to America, and if there's no inculcation of American values and Canadian values, if we don't assimilate and integrate people, if we say, no, we won't assimilate you, we'll include you, diversity, inclusion, and equity, we're not going to ask you to believe in anything that we stand for. In fact, we want your help to overthrow our patriarchal, Christian, cis heteronormative societies. I think we've done a terrible thing. And I don't know if you know that old poem by Rudyard Kipling. I know you like some Kipling poems like Gods of the Copybook Headings.
No.
Kipling was a great poet. He was born in India. He loved India and people of all different races. He loved the British Empire and all its hues and back. He knew more about different ethnicities than almost anyone.
I know what you're going to talk about, and he wrote a poem in Canada called "The Stranger." I talked about it on the air this week, and it was called racist. If that's what you're going for, I don't think it's racist at all. I think it is pointing out a truth that if we don't have the same history, the same understanding of God and good and evil and everything else, we really don't have trust. We don't have trust. We don't have anything.
If we have shallow commonalities, that's fine for everyday moments. But when a crisis hits like the one we're in now, let me quote from Kipling's words, "The stranger within my gates, he may be evil or good." I mean, Kipling knew many wonderful people from different backgrounds, but he said, "I cannot tell what powers control, what reasons sway his mood, nor when the gods of his far-off lands shall repossess his blood." And I guess what I'm saying is, when things are fine or pretty good or just slightly wrong, these deep differences don't get in the way. But we are in, call it end times, call it a World War III. Like, I feel like we're hurtling there.
I do too.
And so maybe people who weren't that political say it's time to bring out the old Taliban flag. It's time to put on the AK-47 earrings and say it's okay to rape kids. That's really scary. And just as scary are people who always held themselves up to be the human rights officers and the ones who care more than you and me, Glenn, the ones who are more tolerant than us. They always called us names saying we were intolerant. Here we have the biggest wave of hatred in 80 years, and they're silent. Where are the human rights commissions? Where are these people who talk about being triggered by microaggressions? We've got mega aggressions. We've got Nazi-style aggressions. And where are they? I am afraid, for the first time in my life, I'm worried about my safety and my family's safety in Canada. Boring, old, peaceful Canada. They used to say Canada was a fireproof house far away from inflammable material. And it was true for a very long time. It is not true today. I see things on the street that if it was in German instead of Arabic would be straight out of the 1930s.
Ezra, you stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for choosing. Good night, America.